New York City, once celebrated as being one of the best cities to live in, is quickly becoming a metaphor for a dying tree. This city, once hailed as the epitome of urban success, is currently facing a lot of challenges that it's hard to believe it was once a thriving state. Rising crime rates, a financial crisis, middle-class exodus, housing problems, and the lingering impact of the pandemic have cast a shadow over the city that never sleeps. In today's video, I am going to show you the issues that have doomed New York nearly beyond redemption. One of the issues dealing terribly with New York City is the crime rate. Criminals have made New York the center for their criminal activities. Incidents of murder, burglary, and robbery are reported daily in their hundreds. Citizens can't trust anyone once they step out of their homes because it's too dangerous. Insecurity and violence have never been so high in one place. You mentioned the police? Yeah, they're doing their best, all right, but they sure can't protect every single person. The irony is that the more measures put in place to increase security, the more these criminals spring up. The number of police staff in the first place isn't enough to combat crime in New York. The departments are understaffed and poorly funded. The salary paid to police officers doesn't encourage others to join such a risky field. Those already in the police service are changing to different careers. Suffice it to say that criminal cases aren't being solved any more than they were in the past. There isn't anywhere that is safe anymore. Mention the safe places you know and pause to think if a crime hasn't been committed there. The subway system never thought it would become a less popular public transport because of the number of crimes reported going on there. That's the reality now. It's becoming highly dangerous for women to use the subway. How's New York doing as regards to economy? Great. New York is doing just great. This city is in the middle of a graceful financial crisis with a projected deficit of $10 billion. This is causing major panic across big-time industries and retailers, and is causing them to lay off workers and reduce their budgets to save costs. Big names in various industries have closed some of their shops across New York, making a greater population jobless. Eric Adams, the mayor of New York, warning about a possible economic downturn, doesn't put many hearts at rest either. The economic storm blowing over the city is especially worse on the middle class, making up more than half the population of New York. As the hardest hit by this storm, drastic measures have been taken by most to save their lives. Thousands of New Yorkers are packing up and moving to states where the cost of living can enable them to breathe. There's not much fruit left for the Big Apple to offer. High costs of living is dealing terribly with a lot of families. Income tax rates in New York City are also among the highest in the country, with a top rate of 8.82% for those earning over $1.08 million per year. The city also imposes a local income tax, which ranges from 3.078% to 3.876% depending on income. Now put into consideration how much these people earn. The taxes imposed are simply too brutal. It is a fact that taxes are important for a state to generate revenue. In fact, no state can survive without a taxing system. However, New York is significantly more expensive when compared to other states. It has made it even more challenging to save and afford other necessities like housing, food, and healthcare. There isn't any rule saying one can't leave the country in search for greener pastures. It is being taken advantage of by thousands of citizens who have no regrets. The movement of the people does the city no good, as it only serves to make the economy much worse. But with limited job opportunities and wages that can't comfortably pay the bills, what choice have the people got? In particular, have proved to be a lifesaver for most New Yorkers. This country is the exact opposite of New York's story. The cost of living here is considerably lower than living in New York, and with businesses moving to Mexico, work opportunities abound. Housing costs far less than what you get in New York. To learn more about the wonderful benefits of living in Mexico, go on and check out my last video about living in Mexico, escaping the economic storm. Healthcare in New York is almost a luxury now because many cannot afford treatment despite the wide range of healthcare providers and facilities. The cost of a single doctor's visit or hospital stay can run into thousands of dollars, and many lower-income residents can't afford to pay for this care out of pocket. Living in New York City is a major financial burden to low-income earners. In Mexico, you'll be able to live a good life. The COVID-19 pandemic didn't help an already deadly situation, The pandemic changed the way we lived forever. New York is a city that relies heavily on industries such as tourism, entertainment, and finance. All these industries have all taken significant hits as a result of the pandemic. As remote work becomes the norm and businesses relocate, the city's economic foundation crumbles. When remote working started becoming popular, it sounded cool, as many didn't consider the economic implications. Local businesses are experiencing reduced patronage because early morning coffee stops have reduced. You get the picture? The hustle and bustle associated with New York City is gradually dying as the once vibrant streets have transformed into desolate landscapes. Even as conditions improve, enticing workers back to the office and restoring the city's former glory may prove to be an uphill battle. Enjoying this video? Then give the like button and subscribe to be updated on the latest economic events concerning you. The situation of New York's real estate market has left many citizens homeless. Homelessness is yet another problem New York is battling with. New York still remains one of the most highly populated cities in the world, and this means demand for housing is high here. As a result of the high competition, many homeowners prefer to offer their homes as outlets for Airbnb because it is more profitable. This is only worsening the limited housing conditions. House shortage problems have driven up prices on the available ones. Also, as wealthier individuals move to previously lower income neighborhoods, it causes property values to rise, making it hard for average earners to compete with. Landlords are all too happy about this development, and they're making their houses look more attractive to these new arrivals to the detriment of low-income earners. The available houses are too expensive for the many families to afford, and so the state of homelessness in New York City has reached the highest levels since the Great Depression of the 1930s. By December 2022, over 102,656 different homeless adults and children slept in the New York City Department of Homeless Services shelter system. The number of homeless New Yorkers sleeping each night in municipal shelters is now 39% higher than it was 10 years ago. These figures do not include those who sleep out on the streets. Each night, thousands of unsheltered homeless people sleep on New York City streets, in the subway system, and in other public spaces. It doesn't paint a pretty picture. Families are getting thrown out of their homes because they can't keep up with rent. Loss of jobs and terrible housing conditions have left New Yorkers with no other options than being homeless. With a 6% occupancy tax on short-term rentals such as Airbnb and property taxes ranging from 0.55% to 1.925% of a property's assessed value, the housing crisis doesn't seem to be nearing its end. The foundation of New York City is crumbling. Physically, the infrastructure is falling apart before our eyes. Aging bridges, tunnels, and subway systems struggle to keep up with the demands of the growing population. New York's infrastructure deterioration is influenced by financial constraints and bureaucratic hurdles, like the need to obtain permits, comply with environmental regulations, and address community concerns, can significantly impact project timelines and costs. Competing priorities are another cause for New York's poor infrastructure. For instance, the city's library is no longer receiving funding from the government. The government is faced with too many needs that demand immediate attention. Sadly, the resources to address these concerns are painfully limited. Bridges, tunnels, and subway systems constructed several decades ago will deteriorate due to factors like weather, wear and tear, and increased usage. Without proper maintenance and upgrades, these aging infrastructures pose health and safety risks for the public. Investing in the infrastructure of a city can stimulate economic growth, improve quality of life, and enhance the resilience of cities. The city's inability to invest in adequate maintenance and upgrades only worsens the problem. New York City is facing a critical problem as it grapples with crime, financial instability, middle-class movement, the lingering effects of the pandemic, and the housing crisis. What are your thoughts about New York's predicament? It is only a matter of time before the time bomb goes off and the big city collapses.